Recording. Hello again, it's me Chaz back with another video. This is my CONMEBOL recap video. The CONMEBOL are continuing with the World Cup qualifiers. Now we're on match day 13. 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. GMT time. Paraguay will take on Chile to kick off match day 13. And the other four matches, 2 on the early hours. Brazil takes on Colombia and Peru go up against Bolivia tomorrow, really early in the morning. And then later on tomorrow, you've got Ecuador take on Venezuela and Uruguay against Argentina. That's the top 2 teams currently in the CONMEBOL going up against each other. So let's take a look at the table and how the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying process works. So, as you can see, Argentina and Uruguay are currently first and second in the table. All 10 nations will have to play each other on a home and away basis. This is the most unique qualifying system out of all the different confederations, since all 10 have to play each other, all 10 members, which is different from all the others. Which does make sense because outside of the OFC that only has 3 more nations than the CONMEBOL, the other ones are over 20 nations. I think the other 4 confederations has over 30 members in. So in the CONMEBOL, this sort of process does make sense. It can work. Alright, and this is also how it works. The top 16, regardless where they finish, will qualify for the 2026 World Cup. The nation who finishes in 7th, currently, as I'm recording this video, you could see that Bolivia are 7th. They will have another chance to qualify for the World Cup in the Inter-Confederations playoffs. The Inter-Confederation playoffs work like this. The one nation from the CONMEBOL would join 2 nations from the CONCACAF, 1 nation from the CAF, 1 nation from the OFC, and 1 nation from the AFC. The nations that are ranked the highest amongst the 6 of them would only have to play 1 match to see if they will qualify for the World Cup in 2026. The other 4 nations would have to play 2 matches. The 6 nations are split into 2 different sections, with the top ranked team first or second waiting on who they have to compete against in the final. Again, 3rd place will take on 5th to see who goes up against 1st, I guess, and the same would be with the 4th against 6th, and whoever wins that will take on the 2nd ranked team. So 2 spots are still up for grabs. Alright, we're going to go back to the table, have a quick look to see how well these nations have done in the CONMEBOL. As you can see, top of the table, the current champions who won the World Cup in 2022 in Qatar, Argentina, firmly top. 5 points clear of 2nd place Uruguay, who have won the World Cup twice, being the very first nation to win the World Cup in 1930. They actually defeated Argentina at that World Cup. Uruguay were also the hosts. I've made a lot of videos about that. I just got back from Uruguay a couple of months ago. But yeah, the first finalists of the first World Cup look very comfortable to qualify for this one. I believe Argentina could outright qualify this month if they do win the next 2 games. I think Uruguay could qualify as early as June. Got Ecuador and Colombia level on points. Ecuador's had a really good campaign. Really good defensive record so far, only allowing 4 goals to go past them during this World Cup qualifying round. Colombia had a couple of mixed bags of results during the September, October and November international breaks, but still being 4th, that's still a World Cup qualifying spot. Brazil kind of similar to Colombia, but this is probably one of Brazil's worst World Cup campaigns, I would say. But still being 5th, just about, has a spot to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. Paraguay a point behind them. They had some really great results towards the end of last year, not losing any of their games, including defeating both Brazil and Argentina. With their great form and other nations around them in the CONMEBOL slipping up, they have now managed to get that final spot. We'll see if they could hold on to it. Now, Bolivia, as I mentioned earlier, they are in 7th in that Interconfederations playoff spot. Their home form might help them secure that spot, maybe even push for 6th, but they are 4 points behind. Now we're going to look on the latter end of the table with Venezuela. At one point, Venezuela was in one of the top 6 spots, but they've failed to win in the World Cup qualifiers since 3-0 win over Chile, and that was all the way back in October 2023. Venezuela are also the only nation in the CONMEBOL never to qualify for a World Cup. Finally, the bottom 2 teams are Chile and Peru. Chile hosted the World Cup in 1962. November's international break for Chile was probably their best for quite some time. They drew with Peru. As mentioned, both of those teams probably really needed a win, but regardless, it was a draw. And they did beat Venezuela 4-2. Still puts them 5 points off the playoff spot and 8 points off 6th for the automatic World Cup spot. So I was looking tough for Chile and Peru if they're going to qualify for the World Cup. Alright, let's look at the fixtures one more time. We've got Paraguay against Chile. A win here for Paraguay would surely distance themselves from the bottom 3. And in the worst case, they'll fall into the Interconfederation spot. Next up, you've got Brazil versus Colombia. A draw for both teams won't be a horrible result, but both teams would want to secure qualifying before September. Peru versus Bolivia. This is a must-win for either team. A draw it doesn't do any favours for either team, with Bolivia only being a point above Venezuela. If results go against them, then they would drop out of that spot. Peru, even if they do win, they would only move up to potentially 9th above Chile. Ecuador against Venezuela. Ecuador, again, they could really edge themselves closer to qualifying for another successive World Cup. If they do beat Venezuela, again, it's a must-win for them. Results go their way and they could move up to the Interconfederation spot. Plus, again, if they do go their way, it would only put them 2 points off the automatic World Cup qualifying spot, the final one. And finally, Uruguay versus Argentina. Always good to see these two nations go up against each other. The last time these two played in the World Cup qualifiers, that was in Argentina, where Uruguay did beat them 2-0. Before the November international break, both September and October wasn't a good time for Uruguay. They failed to score in any of their 4 matches. Again, they did lose a lot of players because of the things that took place in the Copa America semi-final match between them and Colombia, so a lot of players were suspended. Slowly, some of them came back into the team and they managed to get their first win. That was at the expense of Colombia defeating them 3-2. And they also got a draw against a rival in Brazil. Argentina did have a shock defeat against Paraguay, and they also lost to Colombia prior to that. However, they've still been strong in most of their other matches. Again, top of the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying standings. They look like they will qualify for another World Cup again as early as this month. They also won the Copa America last year. and definitely going into the 2026 World Cup as strong favourites. Right, that was my CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying recap. Thanks for watching as usual. Always appreciate it. Like and comment and subscribe, because I hardly ever say that. I need to start saying that more. But anyway, thanks again and bye.